Hey y'all, come make this simple Christmas mug with me. I'm starting out with a 20-ounce camper mug from Craft Haven and a 120 grit sanding block, and I'm just going to sand this mug until all the factory coating is off. You can tell you've done this, one, because you'll start smelling the stainless steel, and then two, that glossy finish that you always see on a stainless steel tumbler is no longer glossy. I'm making sure I'm paying great detail to the top rim and the bottom one as well, and also the top and bottom and the sides of this handle. You want to make sure you sand your tumblers because that's going to give your spray paint, your epoxy, everything that you're going to put on this tumbler something to adhere to. So that is really important. And then after, I'm just going to wash it with some dish soap and water and dry it with a paper towel. Now we're spray painting our tumbler. I use Rust-Oleum Colonial Red, and as you can see, I am spraying it continuously, but I'm also moving my tumbler continuously. I find this works best for me, but you want to make sure that you don't have any pooling on your tumbler. Constantly move it around because this spray paint is a part of our design, so we don't want any pooling. We're not covering it up completely with glitter. Next, I'm taking a chip brush, and I used some metallic gold from Rust-Oleum. I sprayed it in a little cup and I dipped my chip brush in the cup with the spray paint. I'm taking my bristles and I'm pulling them back and then letting them go. I did have a little bit of trouble with this. I felt like my bristles on my brush were kind of flimsy. They didn't like flick the paint as well as I kind of thought that it would. But we just kept going. We kept turning our cup all around to get the splatters wherever I wanted them, and eventually we got there. And I actually think it came out really nice with all the different splatters, the sizes, and everything that we got from our chip brush. All right, now that we finished with our chip brush, you can see all the different size splatters. I really like how it came out. That was a sculpting tool I got from Michael's, and this is just some acrylic gold paint that I have. I'm taking that dotting tool or sculpting tool and I'm dotting little dots on our tumbler. And I'm using different sizes. You'll see I kind of switch to make different size dots. And then I'm gonna take some Athena. It's a pretty gold glitter from Peachy Olive Glitters, and I'm just going to sprinkle those on top of our acrylic paint. I don't think I mentioned this, but you do want to make sure that all of your splatters from your chip brush are dry. Like I let that dry in between doing the chip brush and then this. And I don't have any rhyme or reason here. I'm just going around the cup and kind of seeing where I put the other dots and just spreading them out sporadically. And wherever I feel like I need a dot, I'm just gonna place it. And that's kind of how I did it. Like I said, no rhyme or reason. And right here, I went ahead and picked up a different size dotting tool. And again, just finding spots that I feel like need a little bit more pizzazz with our sparkle, where that's gonna go on top of those dots. And I just wanted a little bit of different variation in sizing on these dots on this tumbler. So this is all personal preference. You can put as many or as few dots as you want, as big of dots or as little dots as you want. It's all what you want to do. It's your design. I did want to add a few to the handle just to tie it in with the rest of the cup. I wanted kind of medium amount of dots. I didn't want too many, but not too little either. So I think it came out nice. Now I'm using just a random paintbrush that I have, and I'm just trying to clean up a little bit of that glitter, just making sure that I don't brush where I just apply that acrylic paint and my glitter. Otherwise it's gonna smear because obviously it hasn't dried yet. Now I'll be honest, so my intent for this tumbler was to just have these spots of glitter where I put the acrylic paint, but I quickly realized that for some reason the glitter was not coming completely off of the spray paint. My cup dried, I believe, overnight, so it's not that my spray paint is still wet. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but honestly, I think this is like a happy accident because I actually really like the spots of glitter where we put the acrylic paint and then just the sparkle throughout the rest of the cup. So it was definitely a happy accident. All right, now we're gonna add our first layer of epoxy onto our tumbler. I'm using Alumilite's Amazing Quick Coat epoxy, and I believe that I mixed up 20 mils for this tumbler. Basically, you can see that I'm adding a little bit of epoxy to my tumbler, and as it's turning, I am spreading it onto my cup. When I start to feel my finger kind of drag, then I'm gonna add a little bit more epoxy to it. Until basically, I'm gonna do this for the entire cup until it's completely coated. Make sure you get the bottom of your tumbler and also the rim. Don't forget about those. I have almost done that before, so don't forget about those. You may or may not have noticed that I haven't really touched the handle yet. I will show you in just a little bit how I handle the handle. Because the way that I'm gonna do it's a lot easier than trying to do it while it's turning. See, what? We stopped the turner and we're gonna cover the handle while the turner is stopped. If you try to cover it while it's turning, it ain't gonna happen. So we're focusing all around the handle, under the handle, on top and below the handle. Just make sure that you get it nice and covered. And then when you're done, you can start your turner again. Epoxy is self-leveling, so it's all gonna level out and be one smooth coat. Also, I pay attention to where the handle meets the tumbler because sometimes epoxy will pool there. And so if you feel like it's pooling too much, you can just take a little bit off with your glove finger. So now that I'm done coating it, I'm gonna take a camping torch and I'm just going to very quickly hit the tumbler with the heat from the camping torch, and this is gonna pop any of the bubbles that I have. So epic fail, I forgot to record me adding the decal. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning when I did this, so my brain, it wasn't there. But basically I got the SVG off of Etsy, cut it with my Cricut, applied it to my tumbler any other way that you would apply a decal to your tumbler. So there's that. I also have 2 coats of CC DIY's Quick Coat on the entire cup just to seal in that vinyl so I don't have any issues when I go to apply my next coat of epoxy. So as you can see, I'm using a 120 grit sanding block to just sand off a little bit of the spray paint and the epoxy that's already on the tumbler because I want to be able to create a good seal around the edge of the cup. We don't want our seal to be on top of the cup because that gets a lot of wear and tear from taking your lid on and off. So now I'm using my craft knife and just gently scraping on top of the tumbler to get any epoxy that has kind of pooled up there off of our tumbler. And I'm sanding a little bit more just to create a nice even seal. I don't know if you can see that little tiny thin line of stainless steel. That's where our seal is going to be created with our next layers of epoxy. Now that we're done sanding and our tumbler's all cleaned up, we're gonna add our last layers of epoxy. I did do 1 layer before this last layer that is right here. The yellow thing that I am brushing the cup with is a tack cloth. It's just gonna help remove any dust or particles that are on my tumbler because we all know that dust particles can drive you crazy. So now I'm gonna add just a little bit of epoxy around the entire tumbler until it is fully coated. And I am paying special attention to the top and bottom rims, and don't forget the bottom of your tumbler. You'll see again that I am avoiding the handle because I am going to stop my turner in just a little bit and focus solely on the handle to make sure that that is good and coated. So I forgot to mention this, my 2 last coats of epoxy, I used Alumilite's Amazing Plus with enhanced UV protection. So there we stopped it, and we are focusing above the handle, below the handle, all around the handle, and the part of the tumbler that is below the handle, like the actual tumbler part, not the bottom of the handle. And we're just spreading it all around and making sure that we have a good amount on there, and we're just going to smooth it out. Also, don't forget to use your camping torch to pop any bubbles. Here's our 'Tis the Season to Be Jolly Simple Christmas mug. I feel like this is a project you could get done before Christmas, 2-3 days tops. I know I use Quick Coat, but I do have a child and I'm not always able to work on my tumblers right when they're ready. So you could definitely get this done. I enjoyed making this tumbler. I love how it came out with our little happy accident with all the extra glitter and the depth that it gives. If you enjoyed watching this, please give me a like and let me know in the comments. And please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It really does help my channel out and you'll never miss another video from me.